Pamela Malkoff Hayes presents Drawn to Change, a guide to the creative cognitive therapy method. Positive change in your life.
Emily, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and who is Emily?
Yeah, I am a group fitness instructor and I'm a personal trainer. I'm really passionate about fitness. I majored in health promotion and disease prevention. My first language is Spanish. And I think it's hard sometimes, especially when you, as a fitness instructor, you really want to practice what you preach. And sometimes if you don't, in terms of the sleep, or if one day you're off in terms of eating and you feel like you didn't eat healthy, you kind of beat yourself up sometimes. And it's really easy to do that because you feel like you have to be on this pedestal, you have to maintain, you have to be 100% 24/7. And I know no one thinks that but myself, but it's also like a lot of pressure I give to myself,
Oh my gosh. It's the same thing for being a therapist, right? Like we're both role models and people come to us to change their behavior and be healthier. And what's it like when I'm not practicing what I preach?
I would love to focus on just getting back on track with a schedule, like going to bed early, like not really knowing why I go to bed so late every night and not getting up as early as I used to. And just also like getting, sometimes you get confused about your future and kind of like what you're meant to be doing. And, it's just a lot of confusion, especially right now where we have more time to think, so just kind of getting back to that normal routine and adapting and like figuring out how to get back there, I think.
Yeah. That's really good, and I think that's something that everybody can relate to right now. What would you say in terms of your anxiety level?
I think that in the beginning of quarantine, I was actually like really great. Like I was like, people were really upset, and I was like, this is great. I got started my podcast. I was like, I could do all these things that I didn't have time to do. And then I would say the last month and a half or so, I went from here and then just all the way down, and I just felt like in a deep hole, and I felt like I was motivating everyone around me but myself. And it's easy to get into those deep holes on your own and not really, you feel kind of stuck. I think part of that is not really knowing your future, what your career is going to look like. Definitely a volatile journey, I would say.
It sounds like you're struggling with your schedule, your motivation, some anxiety, and just kind of like feeling a little stuck. Yeah. And what I'm getting too is like the anxiety is not only circumstantial around you, which we're all dealing with, but also internal in terms of like, where am I going and what is my next phase in life?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Are you ready to do some drawing?
I'm excited. Yes.
Okay.
So I'm not a good drawer.
So we always have that critical voice. So just be aware of it. Try to just listen to it. If you want to voice it to me or just voice it out loud, that's fine. And then we'll let it go.
Okay, great.
I like having people who don't consider themselves artists to work with. I think that, somebody who is an artist in their vocation or in their hobby, they already have colors and shapes and lines as a language. And you don't necessarily, right? You probably haven't done much drawing since you were in middle school.
Right.
That actually allows you to delve into your subconscious because you don't have the skills to censor your drawing in the same way you know how to censor your language because you use language and talking all the time.
That's really interesting. Yeah. No, that's really interesting. I'll see, I'm excited to see what comes out.
Today, we're talking about change. We're talking about transition. I'm going to have you do, and this is a very traditional art therapy technique, but oldie but a goodie. I'm going to have you draw a bridge. A bridge is such an amazing metaphor for change and transition. So your bridge can be real, it can be made up, it can be made out of any materials, going from any one place to any other place.
And any color?
You can use whatever colors you want.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So will you hold it up so I can see it? Okay. And so you used, what color did you use?
This was blue.
What was the process of drawing the bridge like for you?
Right away I just thought of being in a really beautiful environment, almost just like very tranquil, really pretty ambiance. So I was thinking of a brick bridge kind of going over the water with trees around me, birds above me, just like a very almost like meditative area.
Right.
And then I don't know, I just thought of bricks. I don't know why.
Okay. So what I want you to do now is I want you to put yourself somewhere in this drawing. And if you want to put a little stick person or just even a dot, if you don't feel like drawing a person, I just want to know where in the picture you would be.
With the same color?
It's totally up to you.
Okay.
Okay. And if, would you say you're moving or you're standing still?
I think right here I'm standing still.
Okay. If eventually you chose to move, which direction would you go in?
I would be going up.
Which way? From left to right or from bottom to top?
Oh, from bottom to top.
So now I'm going to go through and I'm going to ask you some questions about your bridge. First of all, I'm going to ask you, do you want to add any other colors or do you feel like you're good with the blue monochromatic?
We'll add more colors.
Okay.
Make it pretty. I'll tell myself I'm a good drawer today.
You know, I tell my clients you don't have to be good. You just have to be willing. You just have to be.
I love that. I love that word, willing.
Yeah.
It's so true.
You know, when you are working with your clients, working out, and what do you think, what do they find like is the most difficult physically thing to do? Are they push-ups or like pull-ups? Or I'm trying to think of what is really hard.
Yeah. I would definitely say push-ups. I think the hardest part is not even so much what we do, it's just like starting and keeping it up and like consistently showing up mentally and physically.
And here you are, you showed up. Yay. If you think about like the actual physical activity, like a push-up or something, the first time your client does that, or even the first time you did a push-up, it was really hard and it was awkward. But the more you did it, the easier it got, and the longer you could sustain that, right?
So true. And that's what I think it's so cool to see people's progressions each time.
Yes.
They don't even realize that. I was training someone yesterday and she didn't know that I gave her more reps, and I didn't tell her until after she accomplished it. And I'm like, guess what? You just did 10 more reps than normal.
Right.
And she's like, what? You know? So it's great to see just how, I don't know, just kind of not exactly tricking people, but see their progressions and see how
push them farther than they think they can go. And I mean,
exactly.
You probably know for sure that like our brain is what stops us before our physical body is what stops us, right?
Exactly. All mindset.
I want you to think of your drawing in that same way, right? It's something you have not done in a really long time, so it feels awkward, and you know, you're asking permission, can I use colors and and all that, and the more effort you put into it, the easier it gets. A lot of times my clients will say to me, oh, you make it look so easy when we're painting or something, and I'm like, I have a degree in art, and I know the techniques and I know the skills, and I've been doing it a long time. The same with you in fitness, is you make it look easy.
Right. And it's funny because I haven't drawn in so long. I don't even know the last time. It's really calming. I really like it.
Calming. I know, that's the nice thing. That, it's like there's two parts of art therapy. One is the art as therapeutic, which is the calming part, right? You get lost in it because your brain is focused on that. And then the other part is the art as insight and assessment, and like, what do all these images and things mean? And so show us what you did while we were chatting. How does that feel different than when it was just the outline?
At first it was just like very empty. It almost looked like I was looking up and not really knowing where to go. And I feel like even though I'm standing still, but looking at all like the beautiful environment around me and seeing like how beautiful the earth is, or even just appreciating the little things. Like I think normally there's so much to look at, and I almost just pulled out like the simple things of earth or of a trail or around this bridge, and it's just like simple appreciating what's around me. It's almost like simplifying all the craziness that's going around.
One thing I noticed besides coloring it in, you added a lot more things up in the sky. Tell me about that a little bit.
I just added more birds. They don't look like birds, but I added more birds.
I think most of us would recognize them as
and I added a sun too. Just like, I don't know, kind of like hopeful.
Oh, nice.
Looking up that, I don't know, it just kind of all went together. I don't even know what I was thinking, but I did add more. I don't know, thinking like there's more out there, I guess.
You know what? I love what you just said. You said, I didn't even know what I was thinking about while I was doing it. And that's the thing, is like, because you're so concentrated on what you're doing, you're not thinking about the meaning behind it. And there's always meaning behind it. And it's always about you because it's your drawing, right?
Right.
So let's take a look at it a little bit. I'm going to ask you some questions. And so I love the bridge drawing because it's such a great metaphor for transition and movement. What transition would you say that you're in right now?
I think career shifting, finding a new path to my career, not knowing what field to choose, and just kind of getting into a new field. And yeah, I think like so much is up in the air right now. So just, I think that's a big part of it.
A couple of things that you said, and I like to listen to your language and repeat it back to you. First of all, you said there's so much up in the air, right? And that's a metaphor for, possibilities, but you also added a lot of things into your sky, right?
It's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Great. So I thought that was really interesting. And then you also said that you're standing still, but you would be moving up, right? I think technically your arrow is moving from right to left, right?
Right.
But you refer to it as up. So I wonder if, that's how you're feeling. It's like, I need that next step upward, or to move my career up.
That's true. Very true.
Now I want to talk about what is holding this bridge up. What is supporting this bridge? So when you look at your drawing, what is technically holding the bridge up?
Should I just draw it, or should I say it?
No, I want you to tell me there. You don't have any kind of pillars or anything underneath your bridge right now, right?
I don't right now.
Okay. So usually whatever's holding the bridge up, I use as metaphor for your support system, right? There's two things going on. It's connected to the earth on both sides. Would you say that you feel supported or connected to the earth in your own way, and that brings you a sense of grounding? Do you feel like you need to be outside, or?
Yeah, I would definitely say I feel like I need to be outside and connected to the earth, but it also seems like I don't have my own support, I guess, of like something that's building me up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. That was going to be my next observation, is like there's nothing like really sturdy holding up that bridge, right? And so do you feel like right now your support system is either lacking or just kind of not available?
I think that like I do, I'm blessed to have like my family and a good support system, but I think that I'm that kind of person that I'm very hard on myself. So if I'm kind of like also my own support system, so if I'm not 100% there, I feel like I don't have that support.
Oh, that's interesting. Besides your family, who would you consider your support system?
Besides my family, I mean, I would say a couple of my best friends, and I get a lot of like support, I guess sometimes not even in people, but just like, I don't know, like in a weird way, almost like if I go on a run, that's like the best meditation I could possibly do. And I'm like, that's my way of supporting myself, because I'm like, if I need a vent, it's like, yes, I can call my mom or I can call one of my friends, which I'm like so grateful for.
Yeah.
But the best source of meditation, like support for me to kind of build me up again, is going outside and just like being by myself and going on a run. That's like my zen.
It's your zen. I love it. I love it. And I think that's, why when I said, what is holding your bridge up, you said, the ground or the mountain. And really, you do get a lot of support from just the earth and nature and being out there.
Yeah.
So what would you say is on either side of your bridge?
Other than the mountain?
Well, I see a tree, right? There's a tree.
On either side. I was thinking of my bad. Yeah, I kind of put the same thing on the other side, just trees, grass. I was thinking like really tall, pretty trees. Almost like I'm the only one there. Like almost like it's covered.
Yeah. But it's so interesting, like what we're thinking and what we actually draw is very different oftentimes. Because you're picturing like a mountain and a lot of trees but
I didn't even draw a mountain.
No, you didn't. And you mentioned it a couple of times. But you have like one tree on each side, right? Which is so interesting, and they're very similar trees, right? So what you have on both sides of your bridge is very similar. So I wonder if what you're leaving on one side of the bridge and going towards is not going to be all that different.
It seems like it now after drawing it.
So, and looking at your figure there, it's way over to the right side and it's moving towards the left, right? Does that feel like it's going forward or backwards?
It's funny, looking at the drawing, it looks like I'm going backwards.
Yeah, and the reason it looks like you're going backwards is because we read from left to right. So that way feels
Right.
like you're going forward, and then obviously that would be different in different cultures. Right.
Right.
So do you feel like there's something in your life that you have gone through? You finished that transition, you completed it, you're kind of pausing over here, and then maybe you'll go back to it or back to something new. Life is not a forward always. Yeah.
That's so interesting, because at first I was thinking like, I don't know, I just geared to the right, and now after analyzing it, I'm like, whoa, that's really crazy. I mean, yeah, I thinking about going back to school.
Oh, that's so interesting, because you've already been there. You've been to school. You've been, you know what college is like, right? What are you thinking of going back to study?
That's the thing, is I don't know what exactly I want to pursue. So I don't know if it's like, getting my MBA or psychology or nutrition. Like I'm so all over.
Yeah. But yeah, that's so interesting. Right now, you completed school. And so now you're pausing and you're comfortable where you're at. But at some point you're thinking about going back across that bridge.
Yeah.
Imagine that little person standing on the bridge. Imagine what it feels like to be on that bridge. Does it feel like a safe and sturdy bridge, or does it feel a little rickety and unsure?
Yeah, it seems a little unsteady.
Do you think that's because there's not any support system or pillars underneath? What makes it unsteady?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of the bridge not having support and also me not having as much support as well, so not knowing which way to go, I guess.
Yeah. Interesting. So right now, you said you're standing still. What do you think would, what would cause you to move forward or backwards?
I think just knowing like my future, knowing what to pursue, knowing what my next step is. It's like I have all these things I want to do in life, but I don't know how to navigate it, how to start, basically.
Yeah. What are some of the things you want to do?
I mean, one day I would love to start my own business. I love working with people. Like I love really making a change.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ideas. I mean, there's a general idea of, you know, I want to be there, I want to help people and guide people, and you know, but how do I do that? You know, do I do that through fitness and nutrition? Do I do it through psychology? And you know, at some point, it'll come to you, right?
Right.
Tell me about the sun in your picture.
I added the sun because I'm typically a very happy person. Like growing up, like my family would always call me like they would think of me as always happy. Like if I'm ever upset, they'd be like, "Whoa, like this is not
what's wrong with Emily?"
Yeah, because I was always like that, happy 100%, always on. So it was just like it's just kind of a part of me. But I think right now it seems as if though like the sun is not always as bright every day as it used to be.
Okay, it's still there. It's over to the side a bit, but yeah. I oftentimes think of that sun as hope and warmth and light and guidance and all that. You know, it's funny, when I was in art therapy school, I was taught that the sun represents a dominant father figure, and I think that's ridiculous. I think because most people draw a sun in their picture if they have a father figure, or dominant or not. But I don't ever tell you what your drawing means. I ask you, right? I'm asking, what does your sun mean? So
right. Yeah, no, and I think like I'm a spiritual person in terms of like I always like have gratitude, and I like to like thank God every morning, just like for waking up and breathing and like my blessings around me. So I like maybe, you know, something like that too. But you know, just like knowing that the path is there, that happiness, the fulfillment could come back. It's there. You just don't know how to get it all back.
Right. So the light is there. It's part of you. It can be your guidance, your spirituality. You did a really good job today. What do you think of this first process?
I've never done art therapy before, and I've never even like, you don't really hear about it either. And what's really great is I think you were saying what you were thinking, like I thought mountains, right? And then I drew trees. So it's like, you know, so and just to analyze it, I think was really helpful, because I feel like if you were to ask me like, why aren't you doing this, which way are you going, without drawing it, I'm a very visual person. I wouldn't know exactly how to answer you, or I wouldn't be as honest, I guess, with myself and with you. And just drawing it and like not thinking and you analyzing it with me, it really allowed me to really go into detail of what I'm trying to convey, I guess, or portray.
Oh, that's so great. Yay. I really appreciate you being so open too. One of the things I'm going to ask you to do is to, when you have some free time, I would say put this drawing away for 24 hours or so, and then in the next couple of days pull it back out and look at it with fresh eyes. And then I want you to journal about it a little bit. Do you do any journaling?
I do. It's funny. I used to, but I haven't in a while. But I felt really good doing that.
Basically, I want you to describe just not what you think is there, not what you were thinking about, but what's actually in the picture. right? I want you to describe the colors and the different shapes. Now, you had said that the little upside down V shapes in the sky were birds, right? And that's, you pictured those as representing birds, and oftentimes that's how people draw birds. But literally, what is that shape? Does that shape have any meaning to you? How many of those? Originally, you had 3 in the sky, right? And then you added more.
It feels as almost like I'm super close with my brother and my cousin, and I'm the oldest, and my cousin is like, she just went back to New York, which I'm really sad about. And then my brother's soon going to go to San Francisco for work, and then I'm here, so I'm like, I guess I'm 3. So I'm like, I don't know, like, should I move out of California? Should I stay in California? Yeah. Kind of like the third part of, like, I guess, like, middle child, even though I'm not, like, oh my God,
Right. So the 3 of you are like siblings almost. And then you added more, which was interesting. How many do you have up in your sky now?
I have 8. I didn't count how many birds I was drawing. I just didn't. Like, I didn't even count.
Usually,
and 8's my lucky number.
Oh, wow. See?
Which is weird, because when I tell you I didn't count at all, like, even if it was odd, I wouldn't have noticed. So it's weird.
Yeah. Sometimes those things just come up. It's so fascinating. And so I want you to journal about the shapes, the colors, the numbers, the different images.
Also, what's interesting is the 3 I did in the beginning, I did with a pen, and then all the others I did with a highlighter. So and I put the highlighter over the 3, but like the 3 stand out. I don't know if you can see.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
Which is interesting.
And they're right there in the center too.
Yeah.
So it's funny, if those were you and your brother and your cousin, and then so there's 5 others, and there's some over here and there's some over here, it might be interesting to identify who are those that are closer to me, and who are the ones who are farther away, like which ones would be your parents and which ones would be your friends. Also, I want you to think about what are you leaving and what are you going towards. Journal about it, maybe ask it questions.
It's funny because I feel like if I were to just talk about it with you, I feel like it's kind of like inside, like there's just something weighing me down, but being able to draw it and talk about it, it's like a different form of venting that I never tried before.
Oh, that's so good. That's so
really
good.
Feels good. Yeah.
One of the things that I find is that, it's almost like you're able to take what's inside of you and project it onto this little piece of paper. And not only is it interesting because now it's in the form of colors and shapes, but it's also over here, right? It's no longer all in here, it's outside of you. And so when you talk about it, it's a little safer.
I would have never, I would have never thought of all the things to analyze that we talked about today. It's really interesting. Do you typically start with a bridge? Is it always kind of a bridge?
So for this program, for the Creative Cognitive Therapy Method, each week is a specific thing. So yes, I always start with a bridge, because when people are coming to me, they're in a transition. That's why they're showing up. That's why they're like, okay, I'm ready to work on myself. And so they're in some kind of transition. So I think it's really an apropos thing to start with. So next week, we're going to really start to identify your major struggles. We'll go a little bit more into depth about any kind of anxiety, or, figuring out your motivation, or, your schedule, things like that.
Yeah, no, perfect. I'm excited. Yeah, very, very cool.
Get more information at hazarttherapy.com, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.